up guys, TZ back in another video, and today I'm going to be doing something that I've been requested to do multiple times, which is a season with Total Drama Next Generation characters and Total Drama characters. So, the characters I have up here are the cast I picked, but originally it was supposed to be Total Drama Next Generation characters versus the regular character cast, but I actually did do this video a while back ago, but something went wrong and the entire video got deleted, which I was content with the video at the time when I was doing it, but now thinking back on it, it wasn't an ideal season. Like, it was realistic, but it wasn't an ideal season. It was just the Total Drama Next Generation cast versus the Total Drama cast, and I think the reason why it wasn't ideal was because we were already seeing people that worked together before. So this time I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to switch up the teams, switch them around, and I'm going to actually be talking about how the teams are going to be picked in a second. Now, you see that the characters that I picked, they're a little bit odd, but most of them aren't, but some of them are. So, but the reason why I picked these characters is because I picked the way I got Cosmo, Georgia, Greg, Vince, Megan, Danny, China, and Jackie. Those 8 are the 8 contestants that were in all the first 3 seasons of Total Drama Next Generation. So I did the same thing for picking the cast for the other contestants, which the only 4 guys who was in the first 3 seasons were Duncan, Owen, DJ, and Harold. So if you figure it all out, I have 18 contestants here, and in the end, there would only be 16. Now, I did a poll back when I was doing the other video, and Bridget won over Lashana, because Heather, Courtney, and Lindsay were already picked. I was going to go with them 3 no matter what. So, and then I did a poll that would choose the other contestants competing, and Bridget won that poll. But Lashana, I feel like not putting her in this season would be criminal, so I put her up there anyway, which, if you connected the dots, is how Xavier got here. Out of all the males from Total Drama Next Generation, I feel like Xavier is the one that would be brought back in a season full of legends and all-stars. I feel like Xavier would be the one that they would bring back. Now we're going to build the season off of the actual how we're going to pick the teams. And a lot of you might not be happy with this, but I feel like it might be good in this setting, and that is villains versus heroes. So, clear villains is people like Duncan and Heather and Xavier. Those are going to be clear villains. Everyone else, and Courtney, sorry. Everyone else, and Cosmo as well. Everyone else is going to be somewhere, like, you're not going to really know where they are, or villain-wise at least. Heroes, clearly Lindsay, DJ, Bridget, those are clear heroes. I'm also, with everyone else, I'll put Greg there too, but with everyone else, they're in the middle. They don't have clear villain or clear hero moments. So this is where things are going to get a little bit crazy, but I feel like I forgot about Owen. Owen, clear hero. Anyway, but with everyone else, they're pretty much in the middle. They aren't villains, but they've shown to be villains and heroes before, or villainous and heroic. So, to split up some couples, for a more interesting dynamic, I think Megan goes to the villains team and Danny goes to the heroes. And then Jackie probably goes to villains because she has been on the meaner side in most seasons, and I feel like that's why they would put her in villains. And Georgia was villain season 1, but I don't know. I'm going to keep her here for now because I'm not sure. I think Vince would more go on the hero side. China would probably go on the hero side, but here's where it's going to get crazy. I'm going to put Lashana on heroes and Harold on villains. And hear me out. Harold was the original contestant to rig the votes. He kind of deserves to be on the villain team. Even though he has had times of being heroic, he deserves to be on the villain team for this season, which would leave Georgia to be on the villain's team. But I'm actually I'm actually not mad with these teams. So I'm gonna keep this. I'm actually gonna change this to merge, and hold on, wait. And this will go up all the way up there. Let me just fix that. And yeah, the merge will be with 9 competitors left. So merge. So this will be merge. Right, this will be merge. So now we have our teams, and honestly, with the way that these teams work, honestly, I think the villains are taking this L here, only because the other team, they have more people that are willing to work together, while the villains not so much. Now, Harold might be willing to work with people, Georgia, Courtney, maybe. I feel like the main backlash will be between Courtney and Heather. They don't like each other, and then adding Megan and Jackie into the mix. Those 4 are not going to work well together. They're going to be arguing with each other a lot, and that's going to cause them to lose. So this is where I'm going to have to say that the villains do take this L here for the first time. Now, people that I feel like grouping up together, Courtney, this is going to take place after Total Drama. So Total Drama, both seasons happened completely. So up to All Stars, that's the last time we've seen any of these characters. I mean, except Owen, but I guess like Ridonkulous Race really doesn't have anything to do with this. Yeah, everything up to Ridonkulous Race, I guess, will happen, and then everything up to Brendan Strikes Back will happen. But none of them. Well, yeah, Greg is still in Brendan Strikes Back, but none of that really matters. Anyway. So the last time that we seen Duncan and Courtney together, they did not like each other, so they're not going to like each other here. And Heather would probably try to work with Harold because Harold has shown to have wanted to work with Heather in the past. So she's going to probably try and bring him into an alliance. And Heather and Harold being on a team with a lot of villains, he's going to just agree. Megan and Cosmo will be working together for this because they are shown to be friends, and this time Cosmo needs more help. So Cosmo will be going with Megan this time. And then everyone else really doesn't fall anywhere on an alliance scale. So I feel like Harold and Heather will try to convince. They're gonna see Duncan, and Harold doesn't like Duncan, but Heather knows that Duncan is willing to work with people. So she would try to convince Duncan on their side. But I feel like Cosmo, being the smart person he is, he would be able to realize what happened between Duncan and Courtney, or just watching the show, he would know what happened. So I feel like Cosmo would try to talk to Duncan and tell him we can vote Courtney out, and he'll be down to do that. But then he's going to tell him, if anyone else asks you to vote with them, tell them yes, but in reality don't do it, so we can control the votes how we want to. So that's what he does. So when Heather asks him, he immediately says yes, but he's still going to work with Cosmo. But I feel like Heather would be trying to target Courtney anyway. So yeah, that's who all 5 of these people vote for. And that's 5 votes for Courtney, so that means she's out no matter what. But if you want to know who votes for who, honestly, maybe Courtney or Heather for sure, but I feel like Courtney, Jackie, I don't know, maybe Courtney. Honestly, I feel like it's unanimous that Courtney go in here, because no one else really messes with Duncan. I mean, no one else really messes with Courtney that much, and she's really, she's more on the outs, you know. No one really enjoys having her here. Not even no one on the Heroes team, so it is what it is. With the next challenge, I feel like with the disagreements that's going on for the Heroes team, for the Villains team, Danny's gonna try and take that to an advantage and try to maybe not villainly antagonize it, but use it to his advantage, make them argue more, do something that might make them argue more in Endgame. But I feel like someone would take charge on the Villains team, which would probably be Heather. Heather would know, even though she doesn't really like most of the people here, they need to work together. So Heather would devise a plan for them to win this challenge, which would cause them to win and the heroes go to elimination. Now, with the Heroes Out Elimination, people who you have to know who are going to vote with each other is, first one, I think it's clear, Greg and Vince. They're best friends. They're going to vote for with each other no matter what. Next, Bridget is actually going to try and run this game. She's not gonna try and main villain kind of run this game, but like she's gonna try and control how the votes work, who gets out and how they get out. So Bridget's gonna go to people that she knows who would be good to make an alliance. So DJ and Lashana. She's gonna talk to DJ and Lashana and make a 3-person alliance at the start of the game. So this would happen last episode, but I didn't talk about it last episode. But she would be working with those two, and she'd be working with those two, and then Greg and Vince would be working with each other. And then maybe China might try to work with Danny, but I don't know if they would. I feel like they would because they're both friends, and they're also friends with Megan. So yeah, they would probably work together. So, and Lindsay likes Owen, so maybe they might work together. But anyway, let's see how the votes are falling. Greg and Vince would probably want to target someone who's the weakest on the team, which would be Lindsay. So they would vote for Lindsay. These 3 would vote for China because, like China, I feel like China wouldn't like Lashana for the same reason China didn't like Michelle, which she thinks that there can only be one diva, loudmouth diva on the team or in the game period. So I feel like these 2 would target Lashana, and these 2, knowing Lashana, wouldn't try to vote for her, but maybe with her. But I'm not sure who they would vote for. Maybe they might, actually they would probably vote for China as well. So if that's 5 votes against China, and China's eliminated. So with China being eliminated, that probably makes Danny mad, because Danny can't work how he usually works. He usually works with being more open with alliances. Like, he usually has alliances, and he usually has people he can work with. But this time, he doesn't really have that many people he can work with. So I feel like he'll do what he tried to do in Homecoming and work with these 2. But in Homecoming, it was Greg and Brendan. And I feel like they would try to work together. And I feel like these 3 would agree, considering they're the only ones on the outs. But Danny is smart. So with Danny being their main brain, their strategical mind, Danny would be talking to Lindsay and Owen because he knows how they operate. He knows that they're contestants, that they're not on the brighter side. Let's say that they're more gullible. And I feel like Bridget would also be trying to talk to them as well. So they're kind of the swing votes. Like, they kind of decide who gets eliminated right now, because there's 3-person alliance. Right? There's 3-person alliances, and But anyway, on to the challenge. I feel like in this challenge, Heather would still be taking charge, and she would be leading her team to victory again. Because even though their teamwork is probably less helpful than the heroes' teamwork, because the heroes would all work together with each other, I feel like the villains are just overall better at challenges. Like, they have Megan, they have the strategical mind of Xavier, they have Heather, who's good in challenges and is strategical, and then we have people like Harold, who's smart, Duncan, who's good in challenges, Cosmo, who's naturally good at challenges, I would say, Jackie, naturally good at challenges, Georgia. Like, I would say that they would win this one. So the heroes are back at elimination, and here is where Owen and Lindsay, I would say that they talk to each other and would they'll be like, okay, they want to vote this person and they want to vote that person. So first, let's start off with who they're voting for. I feel like the Bridget Alliance is probably targeting Danny because he's a bigger threat, and the Danny Alliance is probably targeting Bridget because she is a bigger threat, as she is leading their team. Or maybe they might target Lashana, because Bridget has actually done less than Lashana at this point in the game. At this point in the series, she hasn't shown that she can be a threat. She has in the first season, but she didn't get as far. She has never placed as far as Lashana. So I feel like they would actually vote for Lashana, as Lashana is a big threat when it comes to challenges and just getting farther in the game socially. So now it comes to who they would rather vote. I feel like Lindsay would be definitely voting with these guys, only because she liked Lashana. She never really disliked Lashana, and they were on the same team multiple. Actually, no, only 2 times. But either way, they really never disliked each other, and I feel like they would be good together. But Owen, I think Owen might be down on voting Lashana, only because I feel like Danny would bargain a good game. He would probably be like, Lashana is a threat and is really good at challenges, and you know this. You've been in seasons with her. You know how challenging, how threatening she can be in a challenge type situation. And later in the game, she might be unstoppable if we let her get to the merge. And Owen would be down to vote Lashana. So it would be a tie. And in a tiebreaker situation, I think Lashana goes here. I think Lashana is the one who takes the L here, only because Lashana, she's good in a lot of situations. Like, she's a challenge beast. But Danny, he's shown that he can do great multiple times. And the only time he didn't do great was his own fault. Like, he voted himself off. So I feel like he's just better in a challenge situation, that he can take down someone as big as Lashana, which would actually paint a target on his back to the others. So now I feel like this is where the villains finally would lose, only because the villains, by this point, they would be falling apart. Like, Megan, Jackie, and Heather, they would have way too many arguments at this point. And even though Heather was able to lead her team before, I feel like at this point, her leading wouldn't mean nothing, especially if she's arguing with her team. She would try to boss the team around too much, and that would not set right with a lot of them. So Jackie and Georgia probably definitely voting Heather, Megan probably definitely voting Heather, and Cosmo probably voting Heather because Megan is. So we know these two are voting Megan, clearly, and Duncan is probably more on this alliance right now, just because. No, actually, Duncan is with these two because they helped vote Courtney off. Even though they were going to help, he reached out to Duncan first. So that's 5 votes against Heather, and no matter who Xavier votes for, it's lights out for Heather. But I feel like him being the smart guy he is, he would know that everyone else is voting Heather and would vote Heather along with them, only so he doesn't isn't seen as the opposition to the others. So Heather is out here, and yeah, Heather is out this early in the competition. So that actually is a really weird thing, right? Heather being out this early, it usually never happens. Oh, anyway, so in the next challenge. In this challenge, I feel someone else would have to take charge of the villains, and it will be Harold. Harold will try to take the place of what Heather was doing before, but in a better way than Heather was doing, because Heather was arguing with people, but I feel like Harold would use his smarts and his knowledge to lead his team, and this time around, it would work. It would work like, unlike all the other seasons he participated in, he would actually be able to lead his team. He would be the main person on his team that would be able to lead, because no one else would want to, except for maybe Megan or Jackie, but I feel like no one would really listen to Jackie. Like, let's be honest. No one really liked Jackie. Like, I mean, a couple people did. They found her decently okay to work with, but a lot of people just didn't like Jackie because how bossy she been and how bossy she got. And I feel like they would listen to Harold over her. So I feel like Harold would lead his team to victory, and this would cause for the Heroes elimination, for the Heroes to go to elimination. And with these 4 working together, or with these 3 working together, and was able to get Owen on their side, you would think that they would vote someone off. Wrong. I feel like Owen, now not having anyone else on this team that he would actually want out, would vote with these guys, and Lindsay would also vote with them just because there's no reason she would really vote with the others, and I think that's clear out for Danny. So it would really just be 4 votes against Danny, 3 votes against maybe Bridget because she's leading the alliance right now, or DJ because he's gotten far in previous seasons. He's got the farthest. Or no, actually maybe Owen. No, they would want Owen on their side again, but Owen wouldn't fall for it this time. So yeah, they would probably vote for Bridget or DJ, but I feel like they would probably vote for Bridget because she's leading the alliance. But it wouldn't matter because Bridget is here and has 4 people on her side and would get Danny out. So this is who we're left with. So now with Harold leading the villains, they're actually doing pretty well. And I feel like he's going to lead them to victory again, which would mean the Heroes go to elimination again. And with the Heroes at elimination again, they would know that Greg's the bigger threat. So they would vote for. So DJ would still be on Bridget's team, and would vote Greg, and they would both be voting Greg. But Greg, he might not be the smartest, but he speaks from the heart. So I think Greg goes to Owen and tries to get him on his side again. But Owen doesn't listen. Owen still is sticking with these guys. But then maybe Vince goes to Lindsay. And Lindsay being a little naive, I feel like Vince is able to get her on their side. And I feel like Vince tells her, DJ, he's a big threat. I mean, they probably wouldn't be able to say that for Bridget, so they're probably going to convince her to vote vote DJ. Convince Lindsay to vote DJ. Or Owen, maybe. Now knowing that Owen won't vote with them, they would use Owen as their target, because Owen has won a season in the past, won the first season actually. And Lindsay would realize this and would actually agree. So that would cause a tie between Greg and Owen. And I'm sorry guys, but I think Greg wins that all day, every day. So now at this point, with the Heroes team dwindling down, I feel like their cooperation would be so well that they would be able to beat the villain team, even if Harold is leading the team really well. I just feel like there's no possible way that they could beat the Heroes team with their cooperation and with all the people that they have on the Heroes team. Like Vince, Greg, DJ, and Bridget are pretty good at challenges. Lindsay can be good at challenges if she needs to. Like she was in the bike building challenge in season 1 where she got eliminated. She was pretty good. She built an entire bike for her and Heather, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I feel like the Heroes team definitely has this win by now, and the villains have to vote someone off. Now, I feel like Xavier, being smart, would go to Jackie in Georgia and say, well, Harold is trying to lead our team, and Harold is trying to lead our team, and we lost. But they would probably say, well, he also did lead our team the other time we won. So the other times we won. So I feel like they wouldn't agree. But I feel like they still wouldn't vote Xavier. They would probably talk to Xavier about voting someone else. And honestly, I think this is where they would vote Cosmo. I think the three of them would vote Cosmo. And I feel like that's because they know Cosmo to be more on the dirtier side when it comes to playing. And they know that Cosmo is down to get dirty and will turn on allies. So I feel like they would want Cosmo out just so they can get him gone before merge. And these three would probably vote Harold. Well, no, those three would vote Xavier, because Xavier would be a threat by this point. They know what he did in Comeback Cruise, and they don't want that again. They don't want him to rule the game like he did before. So then it comes to Harold as the deciding vote in between the three alliances. So it comes down to Harold, and I think easily Harold decides to go with the Xavier Alliance and boots Cosmo here. It's sad, but I feel that's what happens. Okay, so now at this next elimination, I think the villains would lose again here, only because even with Harold leading their team in a good way and probably doing a good job at it, like I said before, the cooperation between these five and how good they are in challenges, I don't see them losing. I don't see it being possible for them to lose here, especially with them having probably Bridget lead the team as she's trying to be a leader in this season. She's probably leading the team, and I feel like Bridget would be able to lead her team better than Harold, because some people might not take Harold seriously, but I feel like he would still do a good job as a leader and get his point across. So now with the villains back at elimination, Megan is probably not working with Duncan anymore. Like, Megan probably, now that Cosmo's gone, Cosmo was the one that wanted to work with Duncan, she might be not, hesitant to work with him. So Xavier would know that Harold doesn't like Duncan. So he would go to Harold and tell him, we can save you from elimination, but you just have to vote with us. And he proposes to vote Duncan, and Harold is down. Harold is completely down. He wants to get Duncan out. He wants Duncan gone. And I feel like this is where Duncan goes here. So I feel like she would probably vote Xavier. He would probably vote Harold. But either way, that's 4 votes against Duncan. He's gone. So now It's the last elimination before merge. And honestly, I think the villains actually have this win. So I'm gonna move them all up to merge. I think the villains could pull out a victory here. And the heroes have to go to elimination. So with these two working together, Bridget and DJ, and these two working together, Vince and Greg, Bridget still wants Greg out, and Greg still wants Bridget out. So it's a swing vote with Lindsay. And Lindsay, overall, I think Lindsay would decide to go with Bridget because she's known Bridget longer. So I feel like in the end, Greg does get cut here. And that's where this is his final placement in 10th place. So that would mean everyone else here gets moved on up to merge. So now we're in the merge, and we have this set of people left. So we have a good amount of villains and a good amount of heroes. So in this challenge, I feel like Harold would want to prove himself. Even though he knows it would make him a threat, he wants to prove himself. He wants to let everyone know that he's not just someone who's not good in challenges, and it would push him to win immunity. So he would have immunity. People would probably just see it as a fluke. Like people like Xavier would see him as no big threat. Vince see him as no big threat. So they would think he can't really do much. But Xavier, knowing that he needs more people on his side, would go to Vince. And Vince, he sees Xavier as kind of a cool dude, but at the same time, he knows that Xavier will turn on somebody. So he's probably taking whatever Xavier says with a grain of salt. And I feel like in the end, Vince, being on his own without his boy Greg, would end up voting with him, whoever they decide to vote. And Megan probably is not working with these guys. Like even though she'd probably want to, I don't think they would reach out to her. I think they would actually try to get her out here. I think this is where they tried to get rid of Megan. And I feel like at this point, Lindsay is probably strictly with this alliance. Like these three are actually aligned. They are not getting rid of each other. But also, I feel like Xavier talking to Vince, Bridget will see this, and Bridget will go to Megan, and seeing Megan that was all by herself, no one working with her, she would talk to her and tell her, Xavier is a pretty big threat. We need to get him out ASAP. Like he doesn't have immunity right now. This is our chance to get rid of him. And Megan has already wanted to get him out anyway, so she would vote with him. So once again, we have a swing vote, which is Harold. And with Harold being the immune winner, it's either who does he want out, Xavier or Megan. And honestly, here, sad to say it, but this is where Megan goes. And hear me out. The reason Megan goes here is because she's just overall bigger of a threat. She made it to a finale twice. So, while Xavier never made it to one. So, here in this situation, they would get rid of, Harold would get rid of Megan. He would go for who's more threatening, who has done better in the past, and that's Megan. She's made it to a finale twice. She was the only contestant to do so. So, that's why she would get 9th place. Now, in this challenge, I feel like this would be a challenge that would be somewhat on the fashion side, maybe. Just, honestly, yeah, it's kind of a little plot armor for Lindsay. But it's not that she was going to get eliminated. I don't see her going here, even if she didn't win immunity. But I just want to give Lindsay that immunity so she could prove herself. You know, maybe there was a challenge that no one else could really understand how to do, but she could do. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get her a little character development. You know, I just don't want her to float in the game. Like she hasn't really been doing much. So I just want to give her that little immunity. So now she has immunity for this challenge. And Vince would probably still be working with them. But Xavier, he kept Jackie in here way too long. Jackie will start to become a threat. So he talks to Georgia and talks to Vince and tells them, we're voting Jackie. Georgia doesn't like this, so Georgia goes to Jackie and tells her. And these two I would say they're close with each other. Like, they've probably been talking to each other all season. And Xavier, he probably thinks that he's the leader of this little trio, or right now quad, but he's not. These two, they don't trust him. They know that he could turn on someone. So I feel like with them knowing that he's trying to vote off Jackie, they would vote for Xavier. These three would already be voting for These three would already be voting for Xavier, and that's already 5 votes Xavier, so he's gone. But I feel like these two are voting Jackie, and then he will probably vote for Jackie with them just because he thinks that he's on their side right now. So I feel like he would vote for Jackie with them, which would still be Xavier gone. I feel like with 8 people left, he's just too big of a threat. They can't keep him around any longer. And I do not know why 7th is up there. Anyway, we're in the final 7 now, and honestly, I think Jackie wins immunity here. I think she's a good in challenges, and she wouldn't go this long without winning a challenge. So here she would probably win a challenge, and she would have immunity. So with these three running the game pretty much, like they have, at this point, like now that Xavier's gone, their alliance is the biggest one there. So they would be a target. But even though Bridget's leading the alliance, going off of past performances, DJ has done the best. So these two would target DJ, and they'd be able to bring Vince on their side, even though Georgia would not want that, because if you guys didn't know, Georgia does not like Vince at all. And I feel like Harold would more be on their side, because I think he would see Bridget's alliance as more the opposition, because he's been against them multiple times throughout the season, and I feel like he might think that they would turn on him if he joined up with them. So I feel like he would join these guys and vote DJ. So DJ's out. But I feel like these three, if you guys want to know, would probably just vote Vince or Georgia, actually, because she's the biggest threat here, being a previous winner. So yeah, DJ's out here. Sad to see him go, but I just think that that's the most realistic decision to make. So now in the final 6, I feel like Harold wins immunity. And with Harold winning immunity, everyone here is going to start taking him serious now. Like, Vince wasn't taking him serious before, but Vince knows that he's the real deal. He hasn't lost immunity yet. So Vince is actually going to talk with everyone this episode. And he's going to tell them, and he's going to, like, in a comedic way, tell them, yeah, Harold's becoming a massive threat. We might need to get him out. And when he wins immunity, I feel like it more comes down to who they want to vote, and I feel like the majority would be voting Georgia here, because I feel like these two are voting Georgia still. He's probably going to vote Georgia just because, even though he would want to vote against them, these two, they're not really big threats to him right now, and he would probably vote Georgia because she's more of a threat, because her and Jackie are a really strong duo, and Vince doesn't really like Georgia, so I feel like he would vote Georgia as well. So Georgia's out, and these two, Georgia and Jackie, would probably just vote Bridget, but either way, that's too many votes against Georgia for her to stay in the game. So now with this challenge, I feel like this is where Vince wins immunity. Vince wins immunity. He's like, okay, he said it's enough. That he's probably had enough at this point and is trying his hardest, because he knows that he can be out soon. He's in the final 5. He's never made it this far without his bro, except for in Legends. And in Legends, he made the final 3. He doesn't want to get cut there or before that anytime soon. He wants to win the season. So then with that thought sticking with everyone, that Harold, he's a threat. He needs to be eliminated. They all vote Harold, and sad to see him go, but it was 5th place. I think that's a pretty good fitting place for him. So yeah, 5th place is good for Harold. Now we're in the final 4, and I think it's going to be a challenge kind of like similar to the challenge that they did in the original Total Drama Final 4. But instead of doing it with boys versus girls, it will be generation versus generation, with 2 contestants still from Total Drama Next Generation and 2 contestants from the OG cast. It's going to be Bridget and Lindsay versus Jackie and Vince. And I think here is where they take the win. Actually, they would probably win this one because Bridget is smart. Even though she doesn't like living in the wild, she would struggle with it. She would probably start to break down at some point. But Lindsay would probably keep her going and keep her strong. Tell her, even Lindsay's not the brightest, but she can still uplift someone, make them feel better. And I feel like that's what she does here. And them two just knowing each other and working together for so long, I feel like they can take this win, and that would cause either Jackie or Vince to be up for elimination. And seeing past performances, I think it's clear who they're going to vote for. Like, Jackie is a clear threat. Being this long in the game, like, come on now. I think it's clear that Jackie's getting voted here. Vince isn't a threat, really. He made it far in Legends. He made it up to third place in Legends, but he didn't really do anything throughout that season, and he still hasn't done anything this season to prove that he would be a threat. So now, in this challenge, Vince is kind of by himself. He's alone against two people who are working together. So he knows that he needs to win this. But then they say it's automatic elimination challenge, and in this challenge, I feel like Bridget would be burnt out by this point. Like, Bridget would be at the point where she's been thinking strategically the entire game, kind of like what happened to Xavier back in Comeback Cruise. So she would be burnt out by this point, and her thinking might not be as logical as it has been in the past. So I feel like Xavier, wow. I feel like Vince is coming in first here and going to win this challenge, but that's still not enough for him to be in. That's still not enough to decide who else is in there. So it's between Lindsay and Bridget, and with Bridget not thinking clearly, and Lindsay might not be the smartest, but still thinking clearly, I think Lindsay takes this win and Bridget goes home third place. And it's, as you guys know, Bridget's one of my favorite characters, but it's sad to see her go, but I think this is just how it ends for her, because she's been thinking strategically. I feel like she would be burnt out. Every person who thinks that strategically and gets that far in the game is at some point. So I feel like that's honestly what happens. And between these two, since there's a winner and an alt winner, I'm just going to go with whatever one I would want winning personally, and that'd be Vince. So alt winner would be Lindsay. I don't think anyone would be mad with this choice. So this would be the season. Let me just delete these. This would be the season. If you guys wanted to see all the contestants, 18th Courtney, 17th China, 16th Lashana, 15th Heather, 14th Danny, 13th Owen, 12th Cosmo, 11th Duncan, 10th Greg, 9th Megan, 8th Xavier, 7th DJ, 6th Georgia, 5th Harold, 4th Jackie, 3rd Bridget, alt winner Lindsay, and the actual winner would be Vince. So this would be my ideal season. So I think this is an ideal season. I think this is way better than the one that I originally did. But let me know how you guys enjoyed this season down below. I really do want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Do you guys think that some different things would have happened? Do you guys think that I made a mistake somewhere? Let me know, because I like to hear your feedback and how you guys your input on how these seasons go. But with that, that's the end of the video. So I'll catch you guys later.